All right, welcome to the Zero Hanger TV mailbag, where we answer your questions. Don't forget, if you'd like to send us in a question or a talking point or a hot take, follow us on all the socials. You can do so there, but we'll get straight into it. Mitch, first question comes from Blake Crawley. How long until the Hawks are making the top 8?
Could discount next year, I don't think. As early as that sounds, certainly couldn't rule it out. I think we've seen glimpses this year that they can make that jump. Maybe it's like a side like Adelaide are trying to do this year. But I'd be banking on 2025 as the year they make that return. It probably comes off just their list strategy and plans over the next 18 months. So this year, more of a focus on draft, maybe some tinkering with experienced talent. But next year, they'll be attacking free agency quite aggressively with some salary cap space that they've locked up. But another factor is, what they can kind of build on their list. Their midfield is so young and so talented that they could make that jump really at any point. When you guys got guys like John Newcomb, Will Day, Cam McKenzie, Josh Ward, all 22 and under. But even their record this year with when they've had both James Sicily and Mitch Lewis at either end of the ground playing, they're 5-5. So that's a record that if they hold a .500 percentage throughout the whole year, you're pretty much looking at a top 8 finish or close to it. So obviously, if they've got the guys they need playing, they're always going to be a good chance next year. But I'd be banking on 2025.
Yeah, and just knocking off Collingwood. They're up and about at the moment at the end of the season. So next question comes from Whisper Ethan Bald. Crows top 4 next year.
Yeah, hot take from Ethan. Another one, I think, maybe less likely than maybe the Hawks being in the 8 the year or the year after. But they're on the right path. They've got good young talent. How much they're relying on Tex could be a bit of an issue. Everyone's been expecting him to drop off the last few years and he hasn't. So take that for what you will. Darcy Fogarty and Riley Thilthorpe are right there though to kind of lead that. They've got young stars all across the competition. The hard one for them next year will be the start of the season. Without Tom Doedee, without Nick Murray, not sure where Jordan Butts will be. I'm assuming he'll be back for pre-season, but without a key defender, assuming they don't manage to sign any through the off-season, that's going to be really hard for them to hold up in defence. Like we know, midfield brand is pretty spot on there, as is their forward third, but that backline could struggle if they don't have those two for the first half of the season.
Yep, agreed on that one. Next question comes from Fred Walsh. So should we introduce a draft lottery to disincentivize tanking?
I don't hate it. I don't think we're getting it anytime soon. And I can't remember who said it, but someone did say that if they were to introduce it, it'd be good to do so maybe a few years in advance. So say if they wanted to bring it in from as soon as they could, maybe do it from the 2028 season or something like that. So clubs know that it's coming instead of just dropping it on them. So that's probably a good issue. Obviously, it all kind of comes around clubs like North and West Coast this year, and then specifically the most recent weekend with how the West Coast game wrapped up against Essendon and how they narrowly lost that one. But I'm not against it, but there's probably a lot that needs to play out. And if it's just the bottom 4 that you're mixing the picks, that kind of works, and you kind of break it all down differently with, still the 18th place side has the best chance of getting pick 1, but not the only chance of getting pick 1. So I'd be for it, but there's probably a few things that needs to be ironed out for sure.
This is probably a bit rich coming from a Melbourne fan, but is tanking actually that big of an issue in the AFL?
I don't think clubs tank. I think you can certainly set certain, everyone can build their list differently, and I think some clubs are going to know that it's going to, bring on a negative season to get some positive seasons in quicker. So there's I don't think anyone's trying to lose on purpose, but you can certainly set yourself up for a difficult season for what can be a short-term pain for that long-term gain.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, so last question from Bloody Elbow. Is there a chance Ratugolea and Aliir form a partnership at Port Adelaide next year?
Yep. Sounds very, very strong. Obviously, Port tried to get him last year. I think they offered about pick 31. Geelong didn't want to trade him, obviously, as he was contracted last year, to be fair. So off contract this year, not a free agent, so there still will need to be a trade to take place. The big win for Geelong in this is that guys like Harry Himmelberg and Tom Barrass are now staying at their respective clubs. And with a lot of demand for key position defenders this year, Ratugolea is emerging as one of the now few that are available that could now have a lot more suitors in clubs like Sydney, in Brisbane. There's obviously a few that are wanting to add some height to their backline. And while Port Adelaide have been seen to be a leading suitor for him over the past 12 months, let alone just this year, yeah, they could have some rivals to compete with, but it seems like by all reports that Port Adelaide are the favourites, and yeah, Ratugolea would be very, very likely to join Port Adelaide, and yeah, Aliir on that last line.
Yep, good stuff. All right, well, that wraps it up for the mailbag this week. Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, Phoenix.
And don't forget, you can send in some questions or hot takes or talking points through our socials, and you can catch all the latest AFL news at zerohanger.com.